So in my last video, I talked about how Mindseye is one of the worst game launches in recent memory. And it's not just about the fact that the game itself is mediocre to poor, but it's also all about the actual buildup to the launch, how the CEO claimed that any negative previews were like paid for. There were also no review copies sent out to media outlets, which is already shady, on top of the fact that what copies did go out were for content creators who were meant to make sponsored content, which showed a complete lack of confidence in their own product. And then the game actually launched, and it ended up being a complete technical disaster from a performance standpoint to myriad bugs that are utterly hilarious to behold, like this face bug here and ragdolls that lead to NPCs just getting discombobulated. I mean, here's an example of one of the bugs right here, where you can see the body just falling apart in Play-Doh fashion. And it's not just an isolated incident, it's happened to multiple people. Here's another example of that happening to this individual as well. You've got AI that's utterly broken. Here's a pedestrian who's trying to fight back after the player causes chaos, but you can see like it is completely not functional. Here's a situation where traffic is utterly and completely broken, and just the way the open world functions, it doesn't know what to do with itself. Here we have broken AI during a mission and a player utterly baffled at vehicles just throwing themselves off a cliff and just blowing up, and it's just utter chaos. It's hilarious chaos. It's a good time to behold all the game's issues at times, but it is not something worth paying $60 for. It's just more worth watching content creators react to the utter insanity that the bugs in this game causes. Eventually, Build a Rocket Boy, the development studio, got wind of how bad the game looked, how bad the optics were, and there even came to a point where they canceled a streamer's sponsored stream right before it was about to start, so I had to close the game out and start something else. And he said this was the first time something like this has happened. So yeah, it's the way they're trying to control the messaging that's especially egregious. But even sponsored streamers willing to do this just couldn't keep it together because the game was so bad.
!_ spawn in chat and I give you a link.
You can see right here, this individual just finished his Mindseye stream and saying where you can buy it, and all he could do was just laugh and crack up. Like, even when they try to control the narrative, they couldn't keep it contained. And more recently, people brought up things like how the falling physics in this game are utter garbage. Like, it's just completely unfinished. This is what it looks like when you fall off a tall building. Like, it's like Cyberpunk 2077's level of incomplete, except at least Cyberpunk 2077 had the exoskeleton of a good game. Mindseye, on the other hand, no matter how much they refine all this stuff, I don't think it can ever truly be a great game. It just lacks substance. Now, while review copies weren't sent out for Mindseye, this game, it doesn't take a whole lot to complete. It takes about 10 to 15 hours to finish. So reviews are starting to come in. You can see right here the Metascore with 5 critic reviews. It's sitting at a score of 43%. And once more reviews start to come in, I imagine that number will either stay about there or even go lower. And the user score has gone down from a 3.0 to a 2.9 from 86 user ratings. And the general consensus is that there is a third-person shooter here that functions on a basic level, but the lack of substance here is ultimately what brings it down. Gaming Bolt itself says Mindseye is an excellent example of style over substance. IGN itself also used the word substance, saying that its flashy graphics and cinematics can't otherwise hide its distinct lack of substance. Aside from the fact that every aspect of its gameplay is incredibly basic, and the story, while it has an interesting premise, is ultimately very cliche, there's also all of the technical issues, all of the jankiness, and all of the performance issues that plague the game. And this is a sentiment that's echoed across just about every outlet that has reviewed this game so far. And then reviews get even more brutal when you look at the content creation space on YouTube. Nobody has anything really positive to say about this title. Freaking Jake himself says Mindseye broke me, and he's like one of the more positive content creators out there who tries to look at things optimistically, and even he can't hide just what a disaster this is. This can't be real, a beautiful disaster. There's nothing here that's entirely positive. Moist Critical, is Mindseye as bad as everyone is saying? The video starts with yes it is, if not worse than what people have been saying. The universal agreement is that this is unfortunately one of the worst game launches, and it coming from IO Interactive's publishing outlet, IO Interactive partners, and this being from Leslie Benzies, who produced a bunch of GTA games and was part of some of the most iconic video games in gaming history. For him to output something like this just came as a huge disappointment. So disastrous was the launch of Mindseye that even PlayStation is offering Refund. And this is not just one isolated instance here from this Reddit user who posted the following thread stating PlayStation support have refunded the game with 0 issues and said they're aware of this game's optimization and are investigating the situation. The only other game they've ever said this for was Cyberpunk 2077, which was delisted for 6 months. The reason why PlayStation offering refunds is a big deal is because PlayStation has one of the strictest refund policies. Usually, the way it goes is if you purchase a game digitally, then that's it. That sale is final, and there's usually no option for a refund, and the only time they do offer a refund is if a product is so broken that you basically paid for something that you could potentially tout as not functional. So for a game to be in such a state that even PlayStation becomes aware of the situation and are willing to offer refunds, that highlights just how poorly a game launched. Things have to be really bad for PlayStation to take such measures and to offer refunds. So the fact that Mindseye even approaches that, I mean, that says so much. And again, at least Cyberpunk had the makings of it eventually becoming a good game with the right support, with them kind of sprucing up all of the things that needed to be spruced up, and with them adding the content that the game needed. But Mindseye, I don't think no matter what you do with this game, no matter how much you polish it, I don't think you can make a good game here. Even with a significant overhaul, I think that Mindseye at best can just be a serviceable third-person shooter experience. And when you've brought this much negative PR, by the time you've finished fixing the game and patching it, if it's not excellent, then there is no chance of people giving it a second chance. The damage is done, and the only reason Cyberpunk 2077 was able to make such a major comeback was because the improvements were so significant that it literally made the game from like something broken to something that is genuinely excellent, and they've really worked on this game over the long term. And again, PlayStation offering refunds is not just some isolated incident. Here we have another individual, Wolfgang, on Twitter saying that PlayStation refunded me Mindseye, and he got a similar message saying that while they are usually not allowed to process refunds for games that were downloaded because of the PlayStation Store cancellation policy, they do understand that this player and with this game is having issues after the troubleshooting that they did, and that they want to request a refund for it. So they'll make an exception and process their refund as a goodwill gesture on their account. They literally say right here, we usually never do this, but this is a special case, and so we'll make a special exception. Like, of all the reviews, the most scathing one is when PlayStation says, okay, fine, we'll make an exception and offer you a refund. And you can see reports about PlayStation offering Mindseye refunds has gone viral with millions of views and tens of thousands of likes on this post by Culture Crave, because people know that PlayStation normally doesn't do this. So yeah, this game is going viral for all of the wrong reasons, and optics are not helped by the fact that one of Build a Rocket Boy's executives came out and said that they believe that negative previews for the game are from people who are paid to bash the game, when the reality is that the previews were very honest with what they saw. The game they felt was just not ready for launch. Lo and behold, everyone is saying that this game should have been delayed. And even if it were delayed, even if Mindseye launched in the best state possible, I still don't believe that it would have made much of a dent. I still don't believe that it would have been a very compelling experience. It would have gone from a 4 to, I want to say, a 6 at best. 7, maybe. Now, since my last video, the developers have further responded. So I've already shown this statement right here where they said that their top priority is to enhance the game's performance, to improve performance across all devices. That's their immediate focus. They then came out with a new statement saying that they're heartbroken that not every player was able to experience the game as they intended. Their top priority is optimizing performance and stability so that every player across every device can enjoy an equally high quality experience. Who are you kidding? Performance and stability is the least of this game's issues. You can have this game running buttery smooth, and you would still have a game that is very problematic in the way it launched and the lack of substance that cannot be made up for by fixing all of the technical issues. They also addressed the fact that a lot of people have been experiencing crashes with this game, and they admitted that this is caused by a memory leak that impacted roughly 1 in 10 players, and so they're developing a hotfix that addresses this issue. Just a couple hours ago, they did release hotfix number 1, where the patch notes state that they did offer improvements when it comes to CPU and GPU performance, alongside additional graphical settings like the ability to disable or modify depth of field because of how aggressive that was when the game first launched. And then they addressed some gameplay qualms that people had, like the fact that the CPR minigame for this title, and yes, there is a CPR minigame, and I, having experienced it myself, it is truly awful. They reduced the difficulty of the CPR minigame because a lot of people were getting stuck in it, and not because the minigame itself is actually difficult. It was just really poorly designed. It's just very unintuitive. So they didn't lower the difficulty. They just kind of made it less of a thing. The fact that there's a CPR minigame at all is just silly and unnecessary. But then they somehow managed to make it universally frustrating, and it's just baffling that this game came out in the state that it did. And all of this explains why marketing surrounding this game and why media coverage surrounding this game was so controlled, because they kind of on some level knew that what they were shipping was not a high quality product. And when you are a brand new development studio shipping their first game, you want to make a really strong impression with that first game so that when people see your logo, they're associated with something positive and not something humiliating. Mindseye feels like a game they should have made 2 or 3 games down the line, not their first game. It has the makings of a game that is ambitious and has potential. Like, the idea behind it is interesting, but clearly the team lacked the ability to execute, and so they should have gone smaller scale, made something that was more contained, that was within reasonable boundaries of what they could accomplish, made a good first impression, and slowly build towards being able to realize the full potential of what something like Mindseye could be. But Leslie Benzies thought that he could present something as sci-fi GTA, get people hyped, and then live up to that expectation, and the end result was just humiliating failure. And so the best we can hope for now is that Build a Rocket Boy learns lessons that need to be learned from developing Mindseye, and that with their second game, if they even have a chance to make a second game, whatever it could be, that they knock that out of the park so they can win back some trust, and so that they can ensure that Build a Rocket Boy can start being associated with games of high quality instead of, the video game equivalent of a B movie, which is what Mindseye unfortunately feels like. And that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on this whole Mindseye situation. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.